Alright, so in this next section, what we're going to do is to add some more elements to our code so that we can check for a collision with the player and the enemy. So to do that first, we want to set it up as a live system. So I've made a new variable up here called lives underscore var. I've declared it as a number, and I'm going to start the game having 3 lives. Then what we need to do is we need to basically create a function that's going to check for a collision between the player and the enemy. So what I've done is created a function down here called check player enemy collision. So I've declared the function, given an open and close bracket. I then put a for loop in. So similar to making the enemy move, we're going to use exactly the same code, except we're going to change the if statement underneath. So using the for loop, we're going to get the length of the array, take 1 away from the end, keep going through this array until it reaches the end or 0, working through backwards. It's going to take each object, and if the player hit test object, so if the player is hitting the object, which is in the array army E, so in position 0, in the first case for our first enemy, if that's true, we're going to change the variable lives underscore var by taking 1 away, by having 2 minus symbols, and then we're going to trace the live variable. Now, having that function there alone won't do anything. To make sure that it keeps running this function continuously, we're going to add it back to this function called loop. If you remember, loop is set up as an enter frame event listener. So this is checking the frame or changing the frame 60 times a second. So it's running any of the functions inside this loop 60 times a second. So I've added the check player enemy collision function call inside the loop function here, which is going to call this check player enemy collision. Let's run the program and see what happens. Now I haven't added any player control to my screen as yet, so we can see that the enemies are falling down. Here comes an enemy here. We can see that it had taken, it's hit the object there, but we've got a little problem at the moment in that the enemy didn't disappear and our score jumped down by more than 1. So let's have a look at fixing that. So what we've got here before is when the enemy went off the screen, we had to remove the child from the array, removed it from the screen, and we removed the enemy. Well, we're going to copy and paste this code down here, copy that down into our check player enemy. So what we're going to do is above the lives take a score. If the hit test is true, we want to remove that parent the enemy from the screen so it doesn't go through our object, and we splice it by removing it from our array. We can then adjust that. So now if we run our program again, it should now hit our object and disappear. So let's watch that again. Hopefully we'll get an enemy that'll fall down, because as I said, I haven't set up the player controls as yet for this one. Hopefully by chance we'll get a random event. Here we go, one's coming down here. We can see there that the enemy was removed and it only had 2 down here in our output window. So that worked a lot better. In the next tutorial, we're going to clean up our code by adding some movement and possibly adding a menu screen as well.